The red light above the studio door turned on. On air, Ethan Hale sat very still behind the microphone, one hand resting on the edge of the desk, the other lightly touching the raised dots on his old Braille note card. Outside the glass wall, he could hear the soft movement of the night producer, the low hum of machines, the tiny click of someone setting down a coffee cup. He could not see any of it. He had not seen anything for 9 years, but he knew the room. He knew the smell of warm wires and black coffee. He knew the distance between his mouth and the microphone. He knew the quiet breath the studio took before midnight callers began confessing things they would never say in daylight. He leaned closer. "Good evening," he said, his voice calm, low, familiar. "You're listening to Nightlines. I'm Ethan Hale, and tonight, we're talking about the things we almost said." A small pause. The apology that stayed in your throat, the goodbye you never gave, the love you were too scared to admit. He smiled faintly, though no one in the dark city could see it. Lines are open. Behind the glass, Mara, his producer, spoke into his earpiece. "First caller is ready. Line 2. Name says Lily." Ethan touched the button. "Lily," he said gently. "You're on the air." For a second, there was only static. Then a woman breathed in, not loudly, just enough. Enough for Ethan to notice. "Hi," she said. One word, but something in it made him stop. Her voice was soft, but not weak, careful, like she was holding something fragile in both hands. There was a small roughness under it, the kind people got when they had cried earlier and tried to hide it. "Hi, Lily," Ethan said. "You sound like you've had a long night." She gave a tiny laugh. It broke halfway through. "Is it that obvious only to people who listen too much?" "That's your job, isn't it?" "Sometimes," he said. "Sometimes it's just a bad habit." There was another pause. Usually callers rushed in. They wanted to tell the story before courage disappeared. They spilled names, betrayals, regrets, all at once. But Lily didn't. She stayed quiet, and Ethan, who had learned not to fear silence, waited with her. Finally, she said, "I almost called someone tonight. Someone important." "Yes, why didn't you?" Her breathing changed. "I was afraid he wouldn't want to hear my voice." Ethan's fingers tightened slightly on the desk. A strange feeling moved through him. Not recognition, not exactly, more like walking into a room and feeling that someone had just left. "What did you want to say to him?" he asked. Lily swallowed. He heard it. "I wanted to say I was sorry." "For what? For leaving?" The studio became quieter around him. Even Mara stopped moving behind the glass. Ethan lowered his voice. "Did he ask you to stay?" Lily did not answer right away. When she did, her voice was smaller. "No." That was the worst part. Ethan felt that sentence land somewhere deep in him because he knew that kind of pain. The pain of not being stopped. The pain of pretending it didn't matter. He turned his face slightly toward the microphone. "Maybe he thought stopping you would be selfish." "Maybe," Lily whispered. "Or maybe he was relieved. That's a cruel thing to assume." "I know." "Do you believe it? A long silence?" Then she said, "Some nights." Ethan leaned back just a little. He should have moved to the next question. That was the rhythm of the show. Keep the caller talking. Give space, but don't fall in. But something about Lily's voice made him careful. Too careful. "Where are you calling from?" he asked. She laughed softly again. "Isn't that against the mystery of late-night radio? Only if you make it interesting." "I'm in my car." Ethan's smile faded. "Are you parked?" "Yes." "Safe place?" Another pause. "Yes." "Lily." "I am," she said quickly. "I promise." He believed her. Almost. Rain began ticking against the studio window. Ethan heard it before anyone mentioned it. Light at first, then steady, tapping the glass like nervous fingers. Lily heard it too. "It's raining there," she asked. "In the city?" "Yes, it's raining here too. That doesn't narrow it down much." "No," she said. "I guess it doesn't." There was something behind her words. Not a lie, but a hiding place. Ethan had built many of those himself. He touched the edge of his Braille card again, grounding himself. "So," he said, "you left someone. You wanted to apologize. You didn't call him. But you called me." "Yes." Why, her answer came so quietly he almost missed it. "Because he used to listen to you." Ethan went still. The rain filled the silence. Behind the glass, Mara lifted her head. Ethan could feel her watching him. He tried to keep his voice even. "He did every night," Lily said. "He said you made the dark feel less empty." For a moment, Ethan forgot the microphone. He forgot the audience. He forgot the thousands of strangers listening in cars, kitchens, hospital rooms, and lonely apartments. All he heard was Lily breathing through tears she refused to let fall. "What was his name?" Ethan asked. Lily's breath caught. Then the line crackled. "Lily." No answer. Only rain. Only static. Then, just before the call dropped, she whispered one sentence. "I don't think he ever knew how much I loved him." The line went dead. Ethan sat frozen, his hand still near the button. Mara's voice came into his earpiece. "Careful now." "Ethan, you okay?" He opened his mouth. Nothing came out, because somewhere in the dark, in a parked car under the rain, a woman named Lily had called him, and for the first time in years. Ethan wanted to know what someone looked like. Ethan didn't speak right away. The silence stretched. Too long for radio. Mara shifted behind the glass. He could feel it. The quiet tension, like a wire pulled too tight. "Ethan," she whispered in his ear, "you're still on." He inhaled slowly. Right. The show. The audience. He leaned forward again, adjusting his headphones slightly, grounding himself in the familiar weight. "That was Lily," he said, his voice softer than before. "Wherever you are, I hope you find the courage to say what you need to say." A pause before it's too late. He clicked to the next line, but the rest of the calls blurred. A man talking about his brother he hadn't forgiven. A woman laughing too loudly about an ex she clearly wasn't over. Someone drunk, someone angry, someone pretending not to care. Ethan responded the way he always did. Calm, thoughtful, present, but not really there. Not tonight, because in between voices, he kept hearing hers. Soft, careful. "I don't think he ever knew how much I loved him." The words stayed, like something unfinished. When the red on air light finally went off, the studio exhaled. Ethan leaned back in his chair, removing his headphones slowly. Mara opened the door. "You froze," she said, not unkindly. "I didn't freeze. You disappeared." He tilted his head slightly, a faint smile forming. "Occupational hazard." Mara stepped inside, arms crossed, watching him. "You don't usually let callers get to you. They don't usually hang up mid-sentence." "That's not why," she said. Ethan didn't answer, because she was right, and he hated that she could hear it. Mara walked over and placing a cup of coffee near his hand. "You want me to try and trace the number?" Ethan's fingers hovered near the cup. "Just for a second." "No?" "Why not? It's a call-in show. Mara, people stay anonymous." "That's the point." She studied him. "Since when do you care about the rules that much?" He let out a quiet breath. "I don't know anything about her." "You don't need to. You just need a number." And then what he asked, "I call her back, say what?" Mara shrugged. "Hey, you hung up on me." Finish your emotional confession. He almost laughed. Almost. Instead, he shook his head. She didn't call me for that. Then why did she call? Ethan turned his face slightly, as if listening to something far away. She said, the man she left used to listen to the show. Mara frowned. So maybe she wasn't calling me. Mara went quiet. Oh, she said after a moment. You think she was talking to him? Through you? Ethan nodded once. Yeah. The idea sat between them. Strange, but not impossible. People did strange things when they were hurting. Mara leaned against the desk. You're thinking about her. It wasn't a question. Ethan picked up the coffee, took a small sip. It had gone slightly cold. I'm thinking about what she didn't say, like his name. Yes, and why she sounded like she was, somewhere she didn't want to be. Mara's posture changed. What do you mean? Ethan frowned slightly, trying to piece it together. The way she paused when I asked if she was safe, she said she was, too quickly. Mara didn't respond immediately. Could be nothing, she said finally. Could be. But neither of them sounded convinced. The rain outside had gotten heavier now. It hit the windows in steady waves, louder than before. Ethan stood up slowly, feeling for the edge of the desk, the familiar layout guiding him. You heading home? Mara asked. Yeah, you want me to call you a car? No, I'll take the usual. The driver's already outside, she said. Same guy. Ethan nodded. Routine. Safe. Predictable. He liked that. He walked toward the door, his steps measured but confident. Years had taught him the space between things, the distance from desk to wall. From wall to hallway, Mara followed behind him. Hey, she said. He stopped. If she calls again. You want me to put her through? Ethan hesitated. Just a second. Then, yes. The word came out quieter than he expected. Mara didn't tease him this time. Got it. They stepped out into the hallway. The building felt different at night. Emptier. The echoes of footsteps stretched longer. As they reached the exit, the sound of rain grew louder. Real now. Close. The door opened. Cool air rushed in, carrying the scent of wet asphalt. Ethan stepped forward, his cane tapping lightly against the ground as he moved. The driver greeted him. Evening, Mr. Hale. Evening. Mara stood by the door, watching him. Get some sleep, she said. I always try. He slid into the back seat. The door closed. And just like that, the world became smaller again. Contained. The car pulled away from the curb, tires cutting through shallow water. Ethan leaned his head back. For a while, he said nothing. The city moved around him, unseen but alive in sound. Passing cars, distant sirens, the rhythmic splash of rain. Then can I ask you something? The driver said. Ethan turned his head slightly. Sure. That last caller, the woman. Ethan's chest tightened. What about her? She sounded familiar. Ethan went still. What do you mean? The driver hesitated. Nothing. Maybe just the way she spoke. Reminded me of someone. Ethan's fingers curled slightly on his knee. Who? The driver gave a small, uncertain laugh. Someone I used to know. A pause. Years ago. The car continued through the rain, and for the first time that night, Ethan felt it. Not curiosity, not just that. Something deeper. Something pulling at a thread he didn't even know existed. He turned his face toward the sound of the rain hitting the window, and quietly, almost to himself, he said, Yeah, me too. The car slowed at a red light. Rain slid down the windows in uneven lines, distorting the sounds outside. A motorcycle passed, Water splashed. Somewhere, a door slammed. Inside, it was quiet. Too quiet. Ethan shifted slightly in his seat. You said, someone you used to know. He said, from where? The driver didn't answer right away. Just the sound of the engine idling. Then from before? The man said. Ethan frowned. That doesn't mean anything. It does to me. Another pause. Ethan let it sit for a second, then leaned forward just a little. You listen to the show often, every night, the driver said. When I'm working, and you've never mentioned this before. No. Why now? The light turned green. The car moved again. The driver exhaled slowly. Because she said something. Ethan's heartbeat shifted. What, that line? At the end. A small silence filled the space between them. I don't think he ever knew how much I loved him. Ethan felt the words again, like they hadn't left. And that reminded you of my sister. Ethan blinked. Not physically noticeable, just a slight change in his breathing. Your sister, he repeated. Yeah. She said that something like it. Ethan leaned back again, absorbing it. Is she okay? The driver gave a quiet, almost humorless laugh. I don't know. Ethan's hand rested on his cane. You don't know. We haven't talked in a long time. How long? The driver hesitated. A few years. Ethan felt something tighten in his chest. That same pattern. Distance. Silence. Unfinished things. What happened? He asked. Life. The driver said quickly. Too quickly. Ethan noticed. People don't stop talking for years because of life. The driver didn't argue, didn't defend himself, just kept driving. Rain hitting the windshield harder now. Did you try to reach out? Ethan asked. Yeah. And no answer. Ethan swallowed. And you think the caller could be her? I don't know, the driver said again. Probably not. But you thought about it. Yeah. They drove in silence for a while. Ethan tried to let it go. He should let it go. It was just a voice. Just a coincidence. Just a late-night call from someone hurting. That was his job. That was always his job. But where was she calling from? The driver asked suddenly. Ethan turned his head. I don't know. You didn't ask, I did. She said she was in her car. That's it. That's it. The driver clicked his tongue softly. Could be anywhere. Exactly. Another pause. Still, the driver said, the rain. Same as here. Ethan almost smiled. It's raining in half the country tonight. Yeah, but it felt close. The driver said. Ethan didn't respond because he felt it too, and he didn't like that. The car turned into a quieter street. Fewer sounds, fewer passing cars. Home was near. Ethan straightened slightly. You ever try calling your sister during the show? He asked. What used the lines? Stay anonymous. The driver laughed softly. That would be strange. People do stranger things. Yeah, the driver said. They do. The car slowed, stopped. We're here, the driver said. Ethan reached for the door handle, then paused. Hey, he said. Yeah, if it was her. The words hung there. If it was her. Ethan continued. Would you want to know? The driver didn't answer immediately. Rain filled the silence again. Then I think so, he said. Ethan nodded once. Yeah. He opened the door. Cold air rushed in again, sharper this time. Rain hit his face, light but steady. He stepped out carefully, cane tapping once against the ground, finding the edge of the curb, the path to his building. Behind him, the driver said, Mr. Hale. Ethan turned slightly. Yes, if she calls again. A hesitation. You'll talk to her. Right, Ethan stood there in the rain. For a second. Two. Then he said, I think I already am. He closed the door. The car drove away, and the rain kept falling. Inside his apartment, it was quiet, familiar, safe. Ethan set his keys down by the door, moved through the space without thinking, counting steps, knowing angles. The couch to his left, the kitchen counter straight ahead. He hung his jacket, listened, nothing, no voices, no static, just the low hum of the city outside and the steady rhythm of rain. He sat down slowly on the couch. For a while, he didn't move. Then he reached for his phone. His fingers hovered over the screen. What was he doing? He didn't have her number. Didn't have a name that was real. Didn't even know if Lily was true. Still, he opened the station's internal app. The call log. Mara hadn't locked it yet. His fingers moved carefully, scrolling through the recent entries. Line 2. Unknown number. Blocked. Of course. He exhaled. Closed the app. This was stupid. He leaned back, resting his head against the couch. Get a grip, he muttered. But the words didn't stick, because in the quiet of his apartment, without the distraction of other voices, her voice became louder, clearer, closer. Because he used to listen to you. Ethan sat up suddenly. Something clicked. Not a memory, not fully, but a feeling. A faint, distant echo of something he couldn't quite reach. He stood, moved quickly now, less measured than usual. His hand brushed the edge of a shelf. A small box fell, hit the floor with a dull sound. He froze, listened. Nothing else moved. He crouched down slowly, feeling for the box. Found it. Old. Wooden. The lid slightly loose. He hadn't touched it in years. Didn't need to see it to know what was inside. Letters, voice transcripts, messages people had sent to the station back when they still used physical mail. Back before everything went digital. Back before, he stopped the thought. His fingers rested on the lid. Then, slowly he opened it. The faint smell of old paper rose up. He reached in, pulled out a random envelope, ran his fingers over the surface. No braille, just ink he couldn't read. He let it go, reached deeper. Another envelope. Then he stopped. There, a different texture, smoother, thicker paper. And on the corner, a small raised mark. Not official braille, handmade, careful, like someone had tried to make sure he could feel it. His breath caught. He knew this. He had felt this before, years ago. His fingers traced the uneven dots, slowly, as if touching something fragile. Then quietly, he whispered. Lily. Ethan didn't move. The letter stayed in his hand, slightly trembling. The rain outside softened, just a little, like the world was leaning in, listening. No, he whispered to himself. It can't be. But his fingers said otherwise. They remembered, not the words. He had never seen the words. But the texture, the careful way the dots were pressed into the paper, slightly uneven, like someone learning by hand, that memory was still there. He swallowed. Slowly, he sat back down on the couch, the letter resting against his palm like something alive. He hadn't opened this box in years. He hadn't needed to. Or maybe he had avoided it. Carefully, he slid a finger under the edge of the envelope, tore it open. The paper inside made a soft, dry sound as he unfolded it. His hands moved gently, searching. The braille wasn't standard. It never was. The dots were shallow in places, deeper in others. Some were slightly off position, but he could read it. He had learned her pattern back then, line by line, slowly. Hi. A pause in the indentation. I don't know if this will reach you. Ethan's breath tightened. I heard your show for the first time last week. I was sitting in my car, and I didn't want to go home yet. His fingers stopped. Car. He continued. You talked about loneliness like it wasn't something to be ashamed of. A longer pause. Thank you for that. Ethan closed his eyes. Not that it changed anything, but it felt necessary. I don't want to call. I think I would hang up before you even said hello. A faint, almost invisible line pressed into the paper. I'm not brave like that. His fingers slowed. I just wanted you to know. Your voice made it easier to breathe that night. Ethan lowered the letter. The room felt smaller now, tighter, like the air had thickened. He knew this letter, not the exact words, but the feeling. He had read it before, years ago, back when the show was newer, back when he still opened every piece of mail himself, tracing through each message, taking time to respond in his own way, on air. He leaned forward, elbows resting on his knees. His grip tightened slightly around the paper. Lily, he said again. The name tasted different now. Real. Not just a voice in the dark. He reached back into the box. More envelope. Some thin. Some thicker. His fingers searched, then stopped again. Another one. Same paper. Same careful texture. Same imperfect braille. He opened it faster this time. I listened again tonight. I almost called. A small, uneven dot. I didn't. I'm sorry. I keep thinking I will, and then I don't. Ethan exhaled slowly. His heart was beating faster now. Not panic. Something else. Something rising. You asked if anyone was holding on to something they should let go. I think I am. A pause. I think it's him. The word him pressed slightly deeper than the rest. I left before he could leave me. Ethan froze. The rain outside picked up again, tapping harder against the windows. I told myself it was the right thing. I told myself he didn't care enough to stop me. The next line, but I never gave him the chance. Ethan lowered the letter slowly. That sentence, he had heard it before. Tonight, on the call. From her, his chest tightened. The same words. Not similar. The same. He stood up suddenly. The movement was sharp, unbalanced. The letter slipped from his hand, falling to the floor. He didn't notice. He was already moving. Pacing. 2 steps forward. Turn. 3 steps back. His cane tapped once against the table, then rolled away. Didn't matter. He didn't reach for it. Because this room he knew too well. Okay, he muttered under his breath. Okay, think. Years ago. Letters. A woman who wouldn't call. A woman who stayed in her car. Who talked about leaving someone before he could leave her. Who believed he didn't care enough to stop her. And tonight I don't think he ever knew how much I loved him. Ethan stopped moving. The silence hit him all at once. Why now, he whispered. Why call tonight after all these years? Why him or his thoughts shifted? Not him. The show. She didn't call Ethan Hale. She called Nightlines. Just like before. Just like when she wrote letters instead of speaking. His breathing slowed slightly, but something still didn't fit. Something was wrong. He turned his head slightly, as if he could hear it. That small detail, that hesitation. Are you in a safe place? Yes. Too fast, too tight, too controlled. Ethan's jaw tightened. She's not okay, he said quietly. The realization came heavy, not dramatic, not loud. Just certain. He moved again, this time toward the kitchen counter. His hand found his phone, picked it up. For a moment, he just held it. Then he tapped Mara's number. It rang once, twice. She answered on the third. Ethan, it's late. She's not okay. A pause. What the caller? Lily, she's not okay. Mara exhaled slowly. You don't know that. I do. How Ethan gripped the phone tighter. Because she's done this before. Silence. What are you talking about? She used to write in, he said, years ago. Same patterns. Same. Pauses. Same story. Mara shifted, the sound of her moving in bed. You're saying it's the same person I'm saying it could be. And that means she's not okay. Ethan closed his eyes again. Because last time, she never called. And this time she did. Mira said, that's a good sign. Isn't it? Ethan shook his head slowly. No. Why not? Because people don't break patterns unless something pushes them. The words sat heavy in the air. Mara didn't respond right away. Then what do you want me to do? Ethan hesitated. This was the moment, the line between what he should do and what he felt like he had to do. Check the call logs, he said finally. Not just the number, the connection data, tower pings, anything. That's not exactly standard procedure. I know. Ethan. She said she was in her car. So what if she's still there? Mara went quiet. Rain filled the gap again. Then, you think she might hurt herself? Ethan didn't answer. Didn't need to. Mara inhaled sharply. Okay, she said. Okay, I'll check. Call me when you find anything. I will. The line clicked. Ethan lowered the phone slowly. The apartment felt colder now, bigger, and somewhere out there, a woman sat in a car, in the rain, holding words she had never said. He stood there, listening to nothing, and quietly, almost like a promise. Don't hang up this time, he whispered. The phone didn't ring right away. Minutes passed, slow ones, the kind that stretched. Ethan didn't sit down again. He stayed standing near the kitchen counter, one hand resting against it, the other loosely holding his phone. He could hear everything, the refrigerator humming, water dripping somewhere outside, a car passing through a puddle, tires cutting the silence, and underneath it all, that voice, Lily, soft, careful, breaking in places she tried to hide. He pressed his thumb lightly against the edge of the phone. Come on, he murmured. Then it rang, sharp, loud in the quiet. He answered immediately. Mara, I pulled what I could, she said, already moving fast. No sleep in her voice now. It's not much, but it's something. Ethan leaned forward slightly. Go. The number was masked, like usual, but the system still logs rough location through the network. It's not exact, just the nearest tower. That's fine. What do you have? A pause, then west side, near the river. Ethan's chest tightened. The river. There were dozens of roads there. Parking lots, old docks, long, quiet stretches where no one went at night. Too many places to disappear. Anything more specific, he asked. I'm trying, Mara said. He could hear typing in the background. Give me a second. Ethan turned his head slightly, as if it would help him hear better. Rain tapped harder against the windows again. His mind started moving faster. A woman in a car, by the river, at night, calling a radio show to say goodbye without saying goodbye. He exhaled sharply. No, he said under his breath. No, no. What Mara asked, she didn't call to talk. What do you mean she was talking? She was finishing something. He said, something she started years ago. Mara stopped typing. Ethan. She wrote letters instead of calling. She held everything back. And tonight she didn't. That doesn't mean it means she crossed a line. Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Okay, Mara said quietly. Then we find her. Ethan straightened. Yes. I'm sending you the closest intersection we can confirm. It's about a 3-mile radius. Too big. I know. Another pause. I can call the police, Mara added. Ethan didn't answer immediately. His grip on the phone tightened. If he did that, it became real. Out of his hands. Controlled by strangers? What if we're wrong, he said. And what if you're not? Mara shot back. That landed hard. Ethan closed his eyes. A choice. He could step back, tell himself this was just another caller, just another story, not his responsibility. Or he could move and risk being wrong, risk overstepping, risk caring too much. He inhaled slowly. Then I'm going, he said. When I'm going to the river. Ethan, I know the area, he said. Better than most people think. That's not the point. You can't just, I'm not waiting. Mara exhaled sharply. You're blind. Ethan. The words hung there. Not cruel. Just true. I know, he said quietly. And it's raining. And it's the middle of the night. And you don't even know exactly where she is. I know. Then what are you thinking? Ethan paused. Then, softer, I'm thinking she called me. Mara didn't respond because there wasn't a clean answer to that. After a moment, she said, At least let me call your driver. No time. Ethan, I'll take a cab. Stay on the line, she said quickly. Don't hang up. He nodded, even though she couldn't see it. I won't. He grabbed his jacket, pulling it on quickly. His movements less precise now. Urgent. His cane. He hesitated. Then reached down, finding it where it had rolled earlier, picked it up, opened the door. Rain hit him immediately. Cold. Sharp. Real. He stepped out, locking the door behind him by habit, even as his mind raced ahead. Mara, he said into the phone. Keep talking. I'm here, she said. I'm not going anywhere. He moved down the sidewalk, cane tapping faster now, finding rhythm in the chaos. Cars passed, water splashed. The city felt louder, heavier, alive in a different way. I've got a cab 2 blocks from you, Mara said. Driver's name is Min. I sent your description. Good. Ethan quickened his pace, each step deliberate, but faster than usual, his breath visible in the cold air. Mara. Yeah, what if I'm too late? She didn't answer immediately. Then, at least you tried. Not comforting, but honest. Ethan nodded slightly. 2 blocks. He could do that. His cane struck something curb edge. He adjusted, kept going. Then a voice. Mister. Hail Ethan stopped, turned toward it. Yes, cab. Min. Relief hit him faster than he expected. He stepped forward, reaching for the door. Thank you. No problem, the driver said. Where to Ethan slid into the back seat, water dripping from his jacket. He paused. The answer felt heavier than it should. The river, he said. The door shut. The car pulled away. And for the first time that night, Ethan wasn't just listening anymore. He was chasing a voice in the dark. The car moved fast, way too fast for the rain. Wipers dragged across the windshield in a steady rhythm back and forth. Back and forth, but the sound couldn't keep up with Ethan's thoughts. They were louder. Messier. Which part of the river, Min asked. Ethan hesitated. Mara's voice came through the phone, still in his hand. I've narrowed it a bit, she said. There's a stronger signal ping near Dock 17. It's an older area, not much traffic at night. Dock 17. Ethan repeated it quietly. Dock 17, he told the driver. Min nodded. Got it. The car turned sharply. Tires hissed on wet asphalt. Ethan leaned back, gripping the edge of the seat. How far, he asked. 10 minutes, Min said. Maybe less if roads stay clear. 10 minutes. It felt like too much. It felt like nothing. Mara, Ethan said. Anything else? I'm trying to pull older records. She said. From the letters. Anything that might connect her to a real name? Do it. A pause. Then, Ethan. Yeah, you're assuming she's alone. His chest tightened. I know. And if she's not, I know. Silence again. Heavy. Because they were both thinking it. Worst case. A stranger. A situation they couldn't control. Ethan exhaled slowly. Stay with me, he said. I'm not going anywhere. The car sped through another intersection. A horn blared somewhere close. Min muttered under his breath, adjusting. Rain hit harder now, almost violent against the roof. The city sounds began to thin out. Fewer cars, fewer people, more space between everything. Ethan felt it. The shift. They were getting closer. Ethan, Mara said suddenly, her voice different now, sharper. I found something. His body tensed. What the letters? They weren't all anonymous. What do you mean there's one? Older. She signed it. Ethan's breath caught. Name Mara hesitated. Claire. The world seemed to tilt slightly. Claire, he repeated. Yeah, Claire. No last name. Just Claire. Ethan's mind raced. Claire, not Lily. But people used different names on the show. They always had. What else, he asked. There's a detail, Mara said, in one of the letters. She mentioned a place she used to go with him. Ethan leaned forward slightly. Where a small bookstore cafe near the river. His chest tightened. Dock 17, near the river. The pieces weren't clean, but they were close enough. Min, Ethan said quickly, is there a cafe near Dock 17, a bookstore? The driver thought for a second. Yeah, he said. Old place. Closed most nights. There's a parking area beside it. Ethan's grip tightened. Go there! On it! The car accelerated. Ethan's heart pounded now. Not calm, not controlled. Real. Too real. Mara. Yeah, if her name is Claire. A pause. Why did she say Lily? Mara didn't answer right away. Then maybe Lily was who she wanted to be. Ethan swallowed. Or who she used to be. The thought came uninvited, uncomfortable. The car slowed suddenly. Gravel under the tires. Different sound. Rougher. We're here, Min said. Ethan opened the door before the car fully stopped. Ethan, wait. Mara started, but he was already out. Rain hit him hard, soaking through his jacket in seconds. The air felt colder here, quieter. No traffic, no distant city hum, just water, river water. He could hear it, moving slowly, heavy and dark. Mara, he said into the phone, breath uneven. I'm here. Don't hang up, she said quickly. I won't. His cane hit gravel, then concrete. He moved forward carefully, faster than he should, slower than he wanted. Claire, he called out. The name felt strange, too direct, too real. No answer, only rain. He took another step. Lily, nothing. His pulse pounded in his ears. Think. He stopped, listened. Rain, river, wind, and then a sound. Soft, barely there. A car door creaking. Somewhere ahead. Ethan turned toward it. There, he whispered. Mara, I hear something. Go, she said. He moved faster now. Cane tapping, finding edges. Ground shifting slightly beneath his feet. Another step. Another. Then a voice. Faint. Hello, Ethan froze. That voice, weaker now, but the same. Lily, he said, breath catching. A pause. Then, Ethan. The way she said his name, not like a stranger, not like a caller, like someone who had known it for a long time. His chest tightened. "It's me," he said, stepping closer. "Don't hang up this time." A soft, broken laugh came from the darkness. "I wasn't going to." Rain poured between them, heavy, relentless. Ethan took another step forward. "Where are you?" "I'm here," she said. "Closer now." Just a few feet away. He could hear her breathing, uneven, shaking. "I didn't think you'd come," she whispered. "I didn't think you'd call," he replied. Silent. Then I didn't know who else to talk to. Ethan swallowed. "You picked the right person." A small pause. "Did I?" she asked. There was something in her voice. Doubt, regret, maybe both. Ethan stepped closer again, his cane touching the edge of something metal. A car. He reached out slowly, his fingers brushed against wet surface. Cold. Then another hand, just barely. Their fingers touched, and in that moment everything stopped. Rain, breathing, thoughts, all of it. Because her hand, he knew it. Not how it looked, but how it felt. The hesitation, the slight pullback before contact, the warmth held behind fear. His voice dropped to almost nothing. "Claire." Her hand flinched, not away, just a small, instinctive pull, like she had been caught doing something she wasn't ready to admit. Rain slid down their fingers, cold between them. Ethan didn't move, didn't tighten his grip. He just stayed there, waiting. "Claire," he said again, softer this time. A long pause. He could hear her breathing, fast, uneven. "Then he had me, you weren't supposed to remember," she whispered. The words hit him harder than he expected. "I didn't," he said. "Not at first." A shaky breath from her. "Then why did you come?" Ethan hesitated. Because the honest answer was complicated. "I heard you," he said finally. "That's it." He swallowed. "No." The rain grew heavier again, pounding the metal roof of the car beside them. "I felt like you were finishing something," he continued. "Something you started a long time ago." Silence, then a quiet, broken sound, a laugh that turned into something else. "You always said things like that," she murmured. "What things? The kind that make people think you understand them, even when you don't know anything about them." Ethan let that sit, because she wasn't wrong. "I didn't know it was you," he said. "If I had what she cut in suddenly, you would have answered differently." The question came sharp, defensive. He felt it. "I don't know," he admitted. She exhaled slowly. "That's honest." Another pause. "Then I didn't want you to know," she said. "Why not?" Her hand slipped slightly from his, not completely leaving, just loosening. "Because it would change things. It already has." "No," she said quickly. "Not like that." Ethan tilted his head slightly, trying to follow her voice. "What do you mean, a long silence?" "The kind that carried weight." "Then you remember the letters," she said quietly. "Yes." "You remember how I sounded in them." "Careful," he said, like you were holding something back, a faint breath of agreement. "I liked being that person." She said, "What person?" "The one you listened to." Ethan frowned slightly. "I still am listening." She shook her head. He could hear it. "No, not the same way." Another pause. "Then when you don't know someone," she continued, "you can imagine them better." Ethan felt that land. Hard. You can make them kinder, stronger, braver than they really are. Her voice cracked slightly. "And once you see who they actually are, She didn't finish. Didn't need to. Ethan stepped a little closer. You think I'd stop listening? I think, she said slowly. You'd hear the parts I tried to hide. Rain filled the silence again. Ethan let out a quiet breath. Claire, he said, I already hear them. That stopped her. Completely. What? The way you pause when something matters too much? Her breathing shifted. The way your voice gets smaller when you talk about him. A shaky inhale. The way you said you were safe, even when you weren't sure. Silence. Deep. Heavy. You don't have to see someone, Ethan said quietly, to know when they're hurting. Her hand trembled slightly in his. Then, I left him, she whispered. I know. No, you don't, she said quickly. You don't know how. Ethan didn't interrupt, didn't try to fill the space. He let her speak. Because this time she wasn't hiding. I didn't tell him. She said, I didn't explain anything. I just packed my things and left while he was at work. Ethan's grip tightened slightly. Why a long pause. Then because I was afraid of what her voice dropped to almost nothing, that he wouldn't stop me. The words hung there, sharp, honest. I needed him to. She continued, I needed him to fight for me, to say something, anything. Rain hit harder, as if the world was reacting, but I never gave him the chance. Ethan closed his eyes briefly. That same line, again, full circle. And now he asked. She let out a slow, shaking breath. Now it's too late. Why another pause? Then asked him because I saw him again. Ethan's chest tightened. When tonight, his heart skipped. We're at the station. Everything stopped. What he said, I was there, she whispered. Earlier, before I called. Ethan's mind raced. The station, tonight. I came to see you, she said. The words landed quietly, but they changed everything. I wanted to, I don't know, finally do something different, not hide behind letters or calls. Then why didn't you come in? I saw him, she said again. Who, a small and broken breath? The man I left. Ethan went still. What do you mean? He was there. I didn't know he worked there, she said. I didn't know anything. Ethan's grip on her hand tightened. Claire, her voice shook now. I heard his voice before I saw him. He was talking to someone near the entrance, laughing like nothing had ever happened. A pause. I froze. Rain poured around them. I couldn't move. She continued. I couldn't breathe. And then I thought she stopped. What Ethan asked gently. I thought, maybe he really was better off without me. The words came out raw, unprotected. So I left. She said, I got in my car. I drove, and I just kept driving. Ethan's heart pounded. Claire? And then I called you, she whispered. A long silence, because now everything connected. The letters, the call, the location, the timing, and one terrifying detail. Ethan's voice dropped. Claire. What was his name? Her hand tightened in his, just slightly, like she already knew what was coming. Daniel, she said. Ethan's breath caught, because he knew that name too well, and slowly, almost afraid to say it, my driver. The rain didn't stop. It just softened, like the storm had said what it needed to say. Claire didn't answer right away. Her hand was still in his, but now it felt different, tighter, warmer. Yes, she whispered. The word barely made it out. Ethan stood there, completely still. Daniel. The man who drove him home almost every night. The man who said that voice sounded familiar. Ethan let out a slow breath. He said the same thing, Ethan murmured. Claire's fingers twitched. What in the car? Ethan said. He told me your voice reminded him of someone. A shaky laugh escaped her. Of all the ways this could have gone, of all the distances, the missed chances, the years of silence. They had been within reach of each other and didn't know. I heard him, she said softly. At the station. I didn't see him at first, just his voice. Her grip on Ethan's hand tightened again. I knew it instantly. Ethan nodded, even though she couldn't see it. So did he. Silence settled between them. Not empty, just full of everything they hadn't said. For years. What are you going to do? Ethan asked quietly. Claire didn't answer. He felt her hand loosen. Not pulling away. Just unsure. I don't know, she admitted. Honest. Simple. Scared. Ethan let that sit. Didn't rush her. Didn't try to fix it. Because this wasn't his story to solve. Not anymore. You came here tonight, he said. You didn't stay in the car and drive away again. A small pause. That's something. Claire exhaled slowly. I almost didn't. But you did. Rain tapped gently against the car beside them. The river moved in the background, steady and quiet. I thought about calling him. She said, and I didn't. Ethan gave a faint, understanding smile. Some things are harder than calling a radio show. She let out a soft breath that almost sounded like a laugh. Yeah, they are. Another pause. Then what if he doesn't want to hear from me? She asked. The question was small, fragile, the same one she had started with. Ethan thought about it. Carefully. He might not, he said. Claire's hand tightened. He continued, gently. But you already know what it feels like. Not to try. Silence. Deep. Real. That was the cost. Not knowing. Always wondering. She inhaled slowly. And what if I try? And it hurts. Ethan didn't hesitate this time. It probably will. She let out a breath, half laugh, half something else. You're not very comforting. I'm not trying to be. A small pause. I'm trying to be honest. That stayed. Between them. Claire shifted slightly, her shoulder brushing against the car. Rain slid down metal. I spent years telling myself I left for the right reasons, she said. That I was protecting myself. Ethan listened. But tonight, she continued, he sounded happy. The word caught, like he had moved on. Ethan nodded slowly. That happens. Claire swallowed. And I didn't know how to fit into that anymore. You don't have to fit, Ethan said. She turned slightly toward him. He could feel it. What do you mean? You're not going back to what you had, he said. You're just deciding whether you want to be honest now. The difference settled in. Quiet, important. Claire's fingers slowly slipped out of his hand, not pulling away, just stepping back. I'm scared, she admitted. Ethan nodded. I know. Another long pause. Then will you stay here? She asked. Ethan tilted his head slightly. While I call him, he smiled faintly. Yeah, please that word. Soft, uncertain. I'm not going anywhere, he said. Claire stepped away. He heard the car door open, close, the faint rustle of her moving inside, then silence. Ethan stood there in the rain, listening, waiting. The world felt suspended. No studio, no microphone, no audience. Just this moment, a choice being made somewhere a few feet away. Seconds passed, then a click, a phone connecting. Claire's voice, muffled through the glass. Daniel. A pause. Ethan held his breath. Then, a man's voice. Distant. Familiar. Hello, Claire's breath shook. It's me. Silence. Long. Heavy. Then, Claire. The way he said her name, Ethan felt it. Not anger. Not relief. Just something real. Claire started. Stop. Try it again. I'm sorry. No long speech. No perfect words. Just that. Simple. Honest. Ethan let out a quiet breath. Rain falling around him. Steady. Soft. Inside the car, the conversation continued. Broken. Halting. Real. And for the first time that night, no one hung up. An hour later, the rain had almost stopped. The river was quieter now. Ethan stood near the edge of the lot, his cane resting lightly against the ground. He heard footsteps approach. Slow, careful. Claire. She stopped a few feet from him. He turned toward her. Hey, she said softly. Hey. A pause. I talked to him. I know. Another small silence. Then he's different, she said. Ethan smiled faintly. People usually are. She let out a quiet breath. He wasn't angry. That surprises you. Yes. A small pause. Should it? Claire didn't answer right away. Then I don't know. Honest again. Ethan nodded. That's okay. She shifted slightly, water dripping from her jacket. I don't know what happens next, she said. You don't have to, but I want to. Ethan tilted his head. Then take it one conversation at a time. A pause. Then, like tonight, he smiled. Exactly like tonight. Claire let out a soft breath. Something lighter now. Not fixed. Not perfect. But moving. Forward. A small step. Thank you, she said. For what? For listening. Ethan shook his head gently. That's my job. No, she said quietly. Not like this. He didn't argue, because she was right. They stood there for a moment longer, the storm fading, the night settling, and then Claire stepped back. I should go. Ethan nodded. Yeah. A pause. Oh, will I hear you again? She asked. He smiled faintly. Only if you call. A soft laugh. Real this time. I think I will. He listened as she walked away. Car door, engine, tires on wet ground, then nothing. Just the river, just the quiet. Ethan stood there a little longer, letting it all settle. Then he turned, cane tapping lightly, heading back, not to chase a voice anymore, but to be ready, if it ever called again.